and when I looked at the agenda and saw that I was going to be the last speaker in an afternoon devoted to ICT, at the end of a very long day, I thought, how on earth am I going to make an impact? Shall I go so ultra high-tech that I'll blow them off their seats? I decided, no, I shall go no-tech. So what you have is me and my voice and the notes that I made in advance and then have written and rewritten this afternoon as I've listened to the other presenters. I'm going to make just 4 points. The first is that in New Zealand, and I think I can speak also from a lot of the work that Australia does, our approach to aid in education is very much through supporting national education plans. So the answer to some of the questions that have been posed this afternoon is really in your hands. The discussion around the ICT policies and the frameworks, the integrated planning, etc., needs to be situated in the education plan that you develop, that you consult with donors on implementing, not as something outside that maybe this is some way we can approach donors independently. It is your national education plan that we are interested in supporting. And if ICT is prominent in that, then you will be making the decisions around your domestic budget and how the aid programs support that. So I wanted to really start with a strong message on that, because I want, as my second point, to really congratulate both Samoa and the Cook Islands for their presentations this afternoon. I was really stunned by what I saw and heard as actual activities showing us ICT in action in ways that were fundamental to those plans. And I want to give a real challenge to you now. I want to take a risk. I want to ask you to close your eyes right now. And why I say it's a risk is you mightn't ever open them again, it being that hour in the afternoon. But I want you to close your eyes for one moment, and I want you to see an 8-year-old child in your country walking into the classroom tomorrow morning. How many of them are going into ICT-rich environments? How many of them are going to see ICT in that learning experience? Where is it that we are starting from? And so where do our plans need to start? Where do our dreams need to stay firmly in our mind, but reality hits? So now please open your eyes again, otherwise I'll think you have gone off to sleep. So the third point I wanted to make was that when we are looking at what those plans look like, as well as the reality base, what we're particularly interested in are the sorts of discussions that we've heard this afternoon. What is it that is being used, that the ICT is being used for, that impacts on teaching and learning? That it's not that the computers are there for the school administration. That may be useful, it may be necessary, but it is not what we are talking about this afternoon. What is it that the whereabouts, are the computers, or the tablets, or the telephones? Are they, as we saw in Toshi's slide, in a laboratory waiting for the instructions on how to use them? Are they, as I've seen in a number of schools, with books sitting on shelves in rooms that children are not allowed to access because they might dirty them or break them? Or are they actually being used, and as my predecessor from ADB said, have you planned on them breaking down quite regularly? Okay, so when we're looking at the plans, it's that level of reality that we're looking for, and it's the understanding that simply taking, I'm looking, I can't see them now, for the intervention from Cope earlier on this afternoon, that it's not just about putting what was the teaching that was happening with textbooks and blackboards, onto laptops and expecting the reading and the copying to go on. It is fundamentally changing how teachers think about their jobs as teachers and the learners as learners. And that is going to be very, very hard, because in many cases it is going to mean adults giving up any idea that they know anything more than their learners. And that is not why most of the teachers in most of our countries became teachers. They became teachers by learning things, by being the experts. And if you are looking at the sort of ICT we have heard about this afternoon, about the child-centered approaches, about the resources available to them, that is such a big change. We cannot underestimate it. Yes, it is continuous professional development, but it goes right to the heart of what our teachers see themselves doing in the classroom every day. So my final point, one of the areas we have been looking at is around science learning. And I want to use this as an example of some of what I'm talking about. The materials abound on the internet to support science learning. There are amazing things. I came across this Google laboratory, which I just raved to people about. It creates a science laboratory on your tablet. It's got every chemical you can imagine. It's got the beakers and the flasks and the Bunsen burners and the thermometers and everything. And you can mix any chemicals you like. And if you mix the wrong ones, the thing explodes on your screen. And you see broken glass and you have to sweep it away. It is fantastic. I can sit and play with it for ages. And it only costs about $7 to download as an app. I'm not sure how much I'm going to learn from it, because I need the guide of somebody who understands scientific thinking to help me, not just simply try to recreate all the mistakes that have been made in the history of science through to this day. So if we're using those resources, what we need are capable teachers, teachers who know their subject area. We need competent teachers, teachers who know how children learn. And we need confident teachers who know the ICTs, who are not frightened of them. But we also need to help them to take very generic resources. We heard about 28,000 resources in one case. We hear about the open education resources in other cases. I have to say, that is beyond the ability of most of our teachers to navigate without considerable support. It's also what we have found looking at them. Very rarely are those resources written with a person for whom English is a second language, and yet that is the situation for our learners. Very rarely do they situate them in context of the Pacific. Very rarely do they take into account, therefore, the culture, the language, and the identity of our learners. So what we're looking to do is see whether there isn't some way we can work with countries to take some of those resources, to get them aligned with the curriculum, to frame them in a way that lessens the work in some ways of the teachers in creating that program, but frees them up to be really outstanding teachers. Thank you.